So I'm just going to carry on with what I've learned in part 1 of EBSA training. So just a reminder, EBSA is emotionally based school avoidance. I have completed part 2 as well today, and then on the 11th of February I will be completing part 3. So just a reminder as well that the training that I'm doing is with Kat Taylor, and Kat's website is www.findyourhappiness.me. She has some really, really useful things on there. I've actually spoken to her, reached out to her to say that she's really inspired me. A lot of what she's everything she's talking about makes complete sense. And I'm really excited to share it with families, parents, children, and hopefully schools. Maybe schools that are maybe struggling with the best strategies to help families. So educating the educators. So Kat has been fantastic. She is really happy for me to share everything I've learned. Obviously I'm crediting her on here, and I will on my page as well. I'll be sharing screenshots on there. And she may also be able to come on the podcast. She said she'd like to. We've just got to find a way, because she's not actually as local as she previously was. So that's something we're going to look at. I'm also getting people from Swindon to come on the podcast, and I'm going to interview them. So I've got 6 people lined up to come on that work in wellbeing, people I know quite well in different provisions to me, and I want them to come on and tell their story. On my page, I often recommend people, and I'm looking to build a community where we can signpost parents, because parents don't always know which way to turn. It might be me that works with their child, but it might be somebody else they need, or it might be me, and then they go to somebody else. So really, I'm looking to put that out there in another medium, not just on Facebook, to put it across on a podcast so that people have the time and space to talk about what they do and why they do it, and just a little story about them. I think that's really interesting. I like listening to things on Audible. I've just recently listened to The Source, which is by Dr. Tara Swart, and I think that's how you say her name. And then I've got the book as well, so I can highlight bits in the book that resonated with me that I listened to. But listening to her story, I've listened to the Let Them Theory with Mel Robbins, and anything I can really get my hands on that helps me help families, or helps me help myself as well. I like to have a positive and optimistic outlook on life. I do have a good sense of humour, and I have a really fun element, which I think really comes across to families, and how I present myself on social media, how I interact with those families and children. I have I have a big sense of fun, and I think that's very important, because obviously these children are coming to me and they've got things that are on their shoulders, and of course they're going to come in quite serious at times. So having that sense of fun and that humour, that element, that playful element, is really, really helpful with what I do. I haven't really talked about that on here yet, but we'll come to that. So let's look at where I got to last time on here. Apologies, you will hear me turning the page. This is not going to be some sort of polished podcast that you're probably used to listening to. But I'm gonna find my way with this, and I'll do my best. So let's see where we got to last time. So one of the things that Kat asks a child when she works with them is, can we control our own thoughts and feelings? And a child will often say, kinda. I mean, we can't always control what our thoughts and feelings are, because they just come in. So we can't press a stop button, because sometimes it's there before we know it, whether that's positive or negative. So the question that Kat explores is like, what do we have some control over? So talking again about the circle of control. So we have control over what we do, how we behave, and how we react. So the job really is to help young people to realise they do have agency. It can sometimes feel, especially for a child who is being told by an adult, whether it be parents or school, what they have to do and when. So they can feel like life is being done to them. And that can be difficult if you always feel like you're being told what to do, where to go, and what's next. So we do have some choice in how we want to be in a situation. So it's important to say, I can choose how I want to be. There is a quote as well that she's placed in here, which is the adult Jew Viktor Frankl. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedom to choose on, is attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And what Kat asks of a child is for them to develop some sort of acceptance. So we're not saying just deal with it. No way are we saying that. But we're talking about, let's allow those feelings in. Let's just drop the struggle a little bit. It's okay to feel anxious. That is a normal response. So hear me out with this. I have heard children and adults say, I am anxious. I'm an anxious person. And that is, I'm not going to take that away from anybody. Some people are more anxious than others. However, it's really important to know that everybody experiences worry, sadness, anxiety. All of those feelings are there. It's a normal response. We need to allow those thoughts and feelings to be there and just drop that struggle. And one of the things she asks is, do you think there's anybody in the world that doesn't have anxiety? Everybody's experienced it at some point. I have anxiety sometimes when I drive my car. That's my thing. And that's due to being in a car accident quite a few years ago. I'm better now. I drew a line under that for myself when I got a new car. And I thought, this is the fresh start that I need. Sometimes I'll have a wobble when I'm driving on a motorway or on a busy A road. But actually, I've started to take my own advice. So when I start talking to children about their amygdala firing up to try and protect us because we think there's a threat, we have to bring in our prefrontal cortex, which calms us. So I'm actively thinking about the front of my brain, and that is calming me when I drive. It's putting me back into that safe space and that safe place that I know I'm in, because I'm driving the car, I'm in charge. That's really helped me, because you can give advice but you have to take it yourself, don't you? That can sometimes be the hardest thing. So for me, that's been the biggest thing. It's something that I kept at bay for quite a while. And then I think due to being perimenopausal, some anxieties crept in. And I've had to learn how to manage that again. So that's what it's about. It's about saying, okay, anxiety's back, all right. And acknowledging it and noticing it and thinking about strategies to calm the anxiety. So the anxiety isn't ever going to go away. It's always going to be there. It's going to fire up in some form. But it's about how we deal with it. So she's quoted as well a guy called Russ Harris. There's lots of videos, I think they're on YouTube, and I will have a look at that and then put them up on my page. And they're all about acceptance and doing what matters in life. So I need to look at those videos and I can post some links. So I will do that. So the next part. So this is called the triflex. So it's a triangle. And we have on there, be present. So making contact with our inner experience. Doing what matters. Thinking about our values. So we'll go more into this. And open up. Making room for all our thoughts and feelings. And making room and allowing them in without resistance. It's important to recognise that our feelings can't hurt us. They aren't nice. We know that. One of the things that really resonated for me, and I've actually placed into an activity for children, is something that I mentioned in the last pod about having feelings being good feelings or bad feelings. So having that categorizing it, compartmentalizing it. If we place happy in the good feelings and joy and excitement in the good feelings, but we place sad and anxiety and angry in the bad feelings, then we see that all that's bad, as opposed to what we should be saying, which is it's a difficult feeling. These are difficult feelings, but we have to ride the wave. So how do we do that? Well, we need to not put them in the bad category. So we can put them in the good category for now and say that they all belong together. But then we can say, okay, and recognise that some of these are difficult feelings. So what I was doing with children this week in primary age was I was giving them maybe 12 to 15 mood cards that I have and asking them to categorise them into good and bad, but not say why. So I had a child this week looked at me, kept side-eyeing me every time she was placing a card down. Is this right? Is this right? And I said, I'm keeping this zipped. So I didn't say a word. I said, I'll speak to you. We'll speak about this right at the end. You do what you think. So she split them the way that I thought she would into good and bad, as you're probably thinking in your head right now. And then she said, okay, tell me. So I said, okay, this word bad. And I just chucked it on the floor. She looked at me, got all her cards and tipped them all into the, inverted commas, good pile. And then we just talked about it. And I said, all feelings are there to be had. But if we call them bad, we want to run away from them. We won't ever lean into this because we're just so busy in our brains saying, go away, I don't want to think like that. Leave me alone. But if we lean into and we notice and we acknowledge, we can go, okay, thanks for that, brain. Thanks for telling me. I'm just going to do this now. So noticing and acknowledge. That might be something you do to yourself, or it might be that you involve a family member or someone you feel close and trust with and go, well, I've just noticed this. But I'm going to let that feeling pass and we're going to let it just come through us like a little wave. So the fact is, it's about giving up the fight, dropping the struggle and acknowledging the feelings. And that's really difficult. I couldn't even listen to sad songs when I was younger because I didn't like the thought that I might cry or feel an emotion, feel sad. And it just made me feel icky, like it gave me that uncomfortable feeling. And I wanted to move past it because I wanted to get back to being happy, crazy Fran. But I realise now, after having maybe been through further into adulthood, maybe having some adverse experiences and, a bit of trauma and things that have gone on, and just have been accepting of all the feelings, because that's helped me grow as a person. But to a child, it's really, really important that we teach them this, that it's okay. Let's talk about it. I always talk about, let's give it airtime. If we give it airtime and we put it out there to someone we trust, it can't get any bigger in our heads because we shared it. So then we've halved it. So it doesn't mean somebody else can fix your problem, but it's just letting it out and getting used to letting it out. I've got lots of children that find that very difficult, and I completely understand because I was the same. But that's why it's important that we do have these discussions. And I think, there's lots of things wrong in the world, and there's lots of things that are sad in the world. But the one good thing is we do talk about mental health, and we do talk about our thoughts and feelings more. And the more we do, then that new generation coming through, it's only going to get better and better. It's about trusting in it, opening up, exploring it, trusting someone, taking that action and looking at the person that they want to be regardless of what they're struggling with. So looking at the psychological flexibility, that is someone's ability to be fully present with one's thoughts, feelings and emotions, including those that are unpleasant, whilst choosing to act in ways that are consistent with one's values and goals. Looking at people's ethics and their values and their goals, if we talk about those things with children, then comes in the curiosity, and we can start talking about who they want to be. There's a really good book bit in the source. Now, if you're into the law of attraction, this is where this comes from, and it does say the author of this quote unknown. However, I love this, and I think it's a really good one to do with children. I read it out to both my daughters and they really liked it, and it's probably one to go on your mirror and look at in the morning. Attract what you expect, reflect what you desire, become what you respect, mirror what you admire. I'll say it again because I love it. Attract what you expect, reflect what you desire, become what you respect, mirror what you admire. We talked a lot about role modelling as parents, so thinking about how we show up. If we can drop the struggle, if we can model it. So getting really good at home with talking about emotions. So I talk about emotional literacy. So having that literacy, having those words, those describing words. So naming how we feel and why we feel it. There's lots of games on Amazon that you can do at home, play at home. Maybe pull a couple of cards before or after dinner, or whenever you feel is a good time. Picking a card, naming that emotion and describing a time you felt like that. So your children can see that you've struggled, that not everything's easy, that you've made mistakes, things that you found difficult, you're happy to share, that's, age appropriate. And just showing that you're a human as well as a parent, because they look up to you. They look at you, they have you on a pedestal, and that's great, but we're not perfect. We've all had things happen to us. So, I could wake up and say to my children, oh, I didn't sleep very well last night. I'm feeling really grumpy today. How are you feeling? Wow, I'm worried about this. I don't want to go to school because this, I've got double science. That's one of my daughter's favourite things to say. She tells me she's got a great day. She tells me not got a great day. And I go, yeah, should we just stay home and watch movies? And she's like, yeah. I go, or should we just go and see if we can just go do it? And she's like, oh, all right then. So lots of humour, lots of recognition about maybe we don't want to do what we've got to do, but let's just go and give it a bit of a go. Both my girls have had to take a day or two off with their well-being, just when I can see things are getting too much. And then made a call on it, really. Both have good attendance at school. Both have struggled at times. I won't go into that too much for respecting their privacy really now, because they are getting older. But yeah, we've been through stuff as a family, and it's been really, really, really tough. And I've been there and thought, how are we ever going to get through this? Is this going to be like this forever? Is this phase ever going to pass? And you felt stuck. I think that's quite a good word, stuck. I think we all feel stuck at times, don't we? So I do have professional experience, but I have deep-rooted personal experience of things that have gone on in our family, and they have been gut-wrenching. And yeah, we still have struggles. We do. Another exercise that we did in training was to write down a difficult feeling. So, for example, anxiety. So, anxious. So we left 3 lines, wrote the word anxious, and then above that we wrote I'm feeling, and then above that my mind is telling me. And when we read it back, my mind is telling me I'm feeling anxious. Okay, I am noticing that. My mind is telling me. We don't have to let these thoughts push us around. As I said, I'm going to keep repeating some of this because it is important, so it resonates. Naming and noticing. It's not me. It's just a thought in my mind. It doesn't have to define me. Now, if you know me, you'll know I'm a big fan of breath work. I do breath work with the wonderful Sian Baxter. Haven't done it for a while. I will go back to it at some point. Kat Taylor talks about breathing techniques with children, and she said, have you done any breathing techniques? And they go, oh well, I had someone come into my school, didn't really get it, didn't really understand it, it's quite boring. So she's teaching about the correct way to breathe and why it's important. So this is where the vagus nerve comes in. So the best way we describe it to children, and you can do this with your children, is it's a big nerve. It's at the base of the brainstem. It branches into our main organs and it ends in the stomach. It lets our brains know if we need to panic or if we're safe. If we were to breathe like this, so panting, what do you think that communicates to the brain? And the child correctly say, well, it would tell us that we should be worried, we should be panicking, we should feel unsafe about something. But if we do a proper belly breath, breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, that's what pokes the nerve. It slows down the heart rate. It sends a powerful message to the brain. It lets us know there's no danger. We are safe. And then we can think about what we're going to do next. Now, I always say to children and remind adults, when we do this belly breathing, let's do it when we're in our bedrooms chilling or just when we're feeling calm. If we practice, which we have to, it has to be a discipline. It has to be something you do over and over. Just nice calm times in the day. Because if you can do that, when you do feel like you're panicking and that panting is coming through, you'll be able to switch it up easier because you've practiced it like you would an exercise. It forms part of something you do. So when you learn something and you commit it to muscle memory, breathing is similar. So we practice when we're calm. We practice our techniques and our strategies when we're calm. So when it comes to the real thing, we can implement it. And when our breathing is then under control, we can do that with somebody. We can do it alone. We can do it with somebody. If you can co-regulate with a parent, even better. And then we can think about what we want to do next. What's our next move? We talked earlier about these thoughts and feelings coming in. We're not always prepared. So something comes in that we're not expecting, and it's not great. So this next strategy is called thanking the mind. So we're thanking the mind for keeping us safe. Something difficult comes up, we're naming it, we're noticing it. We thank the mind. Thanks for sharing, mind. Thanks for sharing, brain. I'm just going to get back to what I'm doing now. So we lean into it. We don't try and push it away. Get lost. You're scaring me. I don't like this. Because the more you try not to think about something, the more it's going to come in. I have said to children in the past, always have a backup plan ready. So maybe think of something that makes you super, super happy. Whether it be holiday, birthday, Christmas, a really happy memory, just something nice. My biggest one I do with children is something I do as an adult, which might make you laugh. And that is designing my dream home. So if I have trouble falling asleep or I wake up in the night, which I actually haven't really done for the last 4 years because of my herbal teas. And if you see my page, you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm obsessed with Twining's herbal teas. They are the most incredible thing that has changed my life. I don't know if it's a placebo effect, but hey, I don't care. I'm sleeping. But if I can't sleep or I wake in the night, then I will design my dream home. And it's got everything in it. And I'm talking every single detail of every single room. And let me tell you, I've only ever made it up the stairs once because I fall asleep. I'm talking money is no object. I've got a library in my house. I have a drawer and talking room. I have the best kitchen in the world with the most fabulous island, beautiful dining table. I have a snug and a living room. Yeah, that's right. Who do I think I am? I've got a hot tub. I've got a swimming pool. I think I'm going to put a tennis court in there next. Everything. So I always say to children, you could do that. However, this whole thing about leaning into this thought is also really, really important, acknowledging it. So thank you, mind. I'm going to get back to what I'm doing now. So all these things I'm mentioning is how we see ourselves. So I talked in the other podcast about South-C. So these are all techniques for South-Cs. And once we practice them and we have discipline, you have to be disciplined like you would anything else that you're doing, like exercise or eating healthy. So it's the same with practicing our soothe techniques. One of the other things that Kat Taylor mentioned was there's a book by Kirsten Niff, which is a book about self-compassion, learning to be kind to ourselves. Kindness and compassion is so important. If we can be kind to ourselves, if we can show compassion for ourselves and for others, we can help meet our child. We can meet them where they are, because that's what they're looking for. So practicing, and I will get this book as well because I think it sounds really, really interesting. So saying something, so noticing it, the difficult feeling, and then saying something kind to yourself. I'm really proud of myself. I know I can get through this, and I know that this will pass. more to explore the next part, but she's saying about lots of children don't really understand why they have to go to school. Why do I have to learn maths? Why do I have to do science? Why do I have to do English? I'm not going to be a mathematician when I leave school. I'm not going to be a scientist. Why do I need to learn it? So a lot of that can play into how maybe a child's feeling. Like I said to you earlier about a child sometimes feel like life is being done to them and not having choices. So trying to help a child find meaning. And that's why Kat was talking about young people connecting to what their values are. What's their values and their morals and their ethics? Okay, a 5-year-old might not know that. But there's things that you can talk about and things that you can model and things that you would do at home as a family that are important to you. And you are then passing those things on to your children. So tap into those kind of things and making sure that the things that they are doing outside of school hold meaning to them. So, for example, my daughter has singing lessons now. My other daughter plays netball. So having, if possible, a hobby, something that is really important to them that they can share excitement and passion over. They're really, really important if they're able to do those things. Learning to align their actions, your actions, with what their values are. So you can talk about a value, but your words matching with your actions. So that kind of thing. They're things that you can model at home. Okay, I'm going to do another separate episode now, which is how we work at supporting parents. So that'll be the next part that I do. If you have got this far, we're 32 minutes. This is longer than the other one. Thank you so much. And as always, please feedback to me. I want to hear your feedback and see if it resonates as much as it has for me with this training that I've done. It's been wonderful. So thank you.